All right, Protein Levine, back to try and motivate, inspire, share many years of training experience, try and help you stay motivated and consistent no matter what you're dealing with. Finally got an opportunity to put a leg training video. I generally don't do any leg training at home just due to the limitation of uh, machines. Because I don't do free, obviously, I'm not doing any free weight squats. Um, you know, I'm trying to build muscle, uh, so I avoid doing things that are too much of a balancing act. That it's not really beneficial for real safe building muscle safely. Uh, if I'm trying to do an exercise and I'm wobbly or don't feel centered, and simultaneously trying to go heavy enough to uh, stimulate real muscle development, it gets a little dangerous. Not dangerous. It's just you're gonna get hurt. You're gonna hurt yourself. It's not worth it. So when it comes to the leg training, I try and do things that you could isolate one leg easily. Always start with a whole bunch of extensions. I do have knee issues. I have I tore my ruptured the Achilles, and right where it was reattached at certain times gets a little inflamed, but I'm trying to get my small leg as big as possible. By small, I mean I like to get it larger in relation to, let's say, my arm. I have long arms, and it took a lot to fill them out, and I want to do the same thing for my left leg. Obviously, without uh, creating any injury, because a leg injury affects me more than an arm injury would. But generally, I start with lots of extensions, get some blood in the knee, and then into a leg press. I like going training at gyms because I'll use a whole bunch of variations of leg presses. Um, I would train at Bev's and Sias, and they have such a variety of leg machines. So aside from that gym, other gyms will have a lot different types of leg press, different angles, stuff like that. But I'll always start with a bunch of leg press. I actually haven't used this machine in my house in a long time, but lots of leg presses. Um, I only film a few sets, but I try and do a good amount, at least 6 sets, just because, like I said, it's limited equipment, and to keep the volume correct, I'll do more sets of fewer exercises. This right here is pretty tough and often creates issues for me, but today was actually not bothering me. But hack squats are one of those exercises that they will develop your legs if you're able to do them, especially with a lot of weight. I only go to like one plate on this just because, you can't compare it doing, well, do one-legged hack squats and then, you'll see. But, great exercise. Not easy to do, but completely doable without the prosthetic on. For the people with one leg who are interested in doing them, you got to take the leg off. You can't keep it on if you're above the knee. If you're below knee amputee, you can do anything. But lots of hack squats, lots of leg presses. Also do a bunch of like everything that's isometric, leg curls, leg extensions. No deadlifts, no squats. like I'll do lunges with a Smith machine. I don't have a Smith machine, but if I'm training in a gym, I'll use it. I notice a lot of people often avoid doing hack squats. Tough exercise, but if you could do them pain free and very great exercise, just like I always say, generally the tougher exercises that you can't use as much weight compared to maybe a different version, like a leg press or a deadlift, you'll be able to use more weight than typically you're going to do on a hack squat. So people, this is just stuff I've noticed. People do the exercises that allow them to go the heaviest, but at the same time, there's something to be said about the difficulty of an exercise that forces you to not, be able to lift as much weight because it's, the leverage is more difficult. It makes the exercise more difficult, or lack of leverage. Anybody who knows, you got to make sure that you're eating enough to really put on the size also. This would be my off season right now, so I am eating more. Nothing. I don't get crazy though. Like, I'm not. I know I can only gain muscle at such a speed naturally, and some people do it more than others. Different ages, different factors. I just know myself. There's no limitation to how much food I can eat, but there's a limitation to how much muscle I can grow. Calves have always been an issue for me. Also, it's like typical small calves. What I actually have noticed more recently is I'm not able to really demonstrate it great here, but focusing more on just focusing a lot more on the stretch of it. This, it's funny because this applies to every other muscle group I always talk about. You always want to focus more on the stretch. But I have noticed once I've really just started focusing on stretching the muscle, I do believe I've noticed a slight improvement in shape, but is a time will tell thing. We'll see. We'll see in the future. That's the thing that's great about bodybuilding. Your results are very recognizable. It's the only sport where other people will tell you you're succeeding without you ever mentioning it at all.